You know, if you've got an iPhone, you're living in what everyone calls Apple's walled garden. It's nice, it's safe, but it's also very, very controlled. But what if you want to break out? What if you want total freedom? That's where jailbreaking comes in. But here's the thing, that freedom has a price tag, and it's often a hidden one. So, what actually happens when you decide to knock down those walls and step outside? Well, it's this really fascinating dance between getting total control and making some pretty serious compromises. Let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to be on the same page. What even is iOS jailbreaking? And maybe more importantly, why on earth would somebody want to do it?
All right, so here's the technical definition. Think of it like this. Apple puts up all these digital walls and rules about what you can and can't do on your device. Jailbreaking is literally the process of smashing through these walls. It hands you something called root access, and you can think of that as the master key to your entire phone. With it, you can change pretty much anything you want.
So what does this master key really open up? Well, it's not just one door. We're talking about installing apps Apple would never dream of approving. You can customize how your phone looks and feels down to the tiniest detail. You can even use different app stores, like the famous one, Cydia. You're basically taking over as the system administrator of your own device, which, as you can imagine, is for better and for worse.
But wait, how is this even a thing? It's not like there's a setting you can just flip on. Nope, it's all about finding an exploit. Really smart developers find a little crack in the armor of iOS, a vulnerability. They use that tiny flaw to give themselves those super user powers we just mentioned, and then they go in and change the core system files. And here's the key point. To do this, they have to fundamentally break the security system that Apple built, right from the very foundation. And that brings us to the other side of the coin, the consequences. See, when you intentionally tear down those walls that were built to protect you, well, they come crashing down. So let's talk about the risks you're now exposed to. Okay, risk number one, and it's the big one, security breaches. Normally, every app on your iPhone lives in its own little sandbox. It's like they're in separate digital playpens and can't mess with each other's toys. Well, jailbreaking just bulldozes those playpens. Suddenly, a malicious app could reach over and grab your passwords, your private information, your API keys, everything from your other legit apps. Yikes. And it's not just about your personal security. Think about the app developers. Jailbreaking is the main way people install pirated apps, cracked versions of paid software. It's also how they get around in-app purchases. This means developers are losing money on the work they poured their hearts into. For the entire app economy, this is a huge deal. Then you've got this issue of integrity. Just think about the apps you really need to trust. Your banking app, your payment apps, maybe a healthcare app. They absolutely need to know they're running in a safe, secure environment. On a jailbroken phone, that trust is just gone. The app has no way to know if something shady is going on in the background, which is exactly why a lot of them will just flat out refuse to even open.
And get this, sometimes it's not even up to the developer. For really sensitive industries like finance and healthcare, there are actual regulations, laws basically, that require the app to block itself from running on a compromised or rooted device. It's a straight-up compliance issue. So let's put ourselves in the developer's shoes for a second. You've built this super secure app. What do? You can't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. You have to build a defense. And this is where we get into this constant cat and mouse game of jailbreak detection. I mean, it's a great question, isn't it? You try to open your banking app on a jailbroken phone and bam, device not supported. But how does it know? It's not like Apple sends it a memo. The app itself has to put on its detective hat and figure it out. So here's what's on that detective's checklist. First, it looks for telltale signs, known jailbreak files like the Cydia app itself. Then, it might try to do something it's not supposed to, like writing a file outside its little sandbox. If it can, that's a huge red flag. It'll also scan for weird processes running in the background, or even try to open a special link like Cydia //. If it gets a yes on any of these, bingo. The app knows the walls are down. Okay, so we've looked at the appeal, the huge risks, and this whole detection game. What's the one big idea we should walk away with? It really boils down to this. The environment your code runs in is everything. This quote just hits the nail on the head. A developer can write code that's like a digital Fort Knox. But if you run that code in a shady, compromised environment, like a jailbroken phone,
All that hard work, all that security can just fall apart. The integrity of the entire system is what counts.
And that really brings us full circle, back to the big question at the heart of all this. It's this constant tug of war, right? On one side, you have the freedom to do whatever you want with a device you paid for. On the other, you have the security that comes from playing by the rules. So after all this, the real question is for you. Where do you draw that line?